All right, we're back. Another edition of Tribe Talk. I'm here with a special guest tonight, Beecher Grogan.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming. Rob Frillo, he's back. I'm sure everyone knows who you are by now.
Sure.
New to the show tonight, but a regular in everyone's heart. Coach Cal, our defensive coordinator.
Nice to be here.
How do you feel, Cal?
Very good.
Feel famous?
No.
Not yet.
You mentioned
Just you wait.
You mentioned you were shy.
Very shy in front of the camera.
Okay. Beecher, I met you probably a month ago.
Say about that, yeah.
About that Beachcomber
Yep. Beecher at the Beachcomber.
down on Wally Beach.
Yep.
It used to be
was a good night.
nostalgias when I was in my 20s. I used to go down there with a few of my friends and do karaoke in front of a big. You like that, Rob, don't you?
Glad I missed that one.
You're doing well, Steve.
Yes. So it was an old stomping grounds. We had just left our fundraiser that we had for our team, headed down there, met Cal down there. And when I got there, I actually thought the fundraiser was just for the former or at the time owner of the Beachcomber.
Jimmy.
And when I walked in, I saw you. And
It was magic.
yeah, you're a special person, seriously, from the time I met you. And I'd just like you to explain a little bit about Lucy's Love Bus.
All right, so Lucy's Love Bus is a charity that was started by my little girl Lucy, who's right there. Lucy was a very healthy girl her whole life. She was my first of 3 children. And when she was 8 years old, she started having some symptoms that seemed unrelated. She was pale, she had some pain in her left leg, she had strep throat that wouldn't go away. And she woke up one morning and her lips were pale, and I thought, well, something's going on. So I called her nurse practitioner, set an appointment, thinking it was nothing more than Lyme disease, like maybe Lyme disease was my worst fear. We had our appointment, and that night at around 11 o'clock, I got a call from her doctor saying that we had to rush her to Children's Hospital Boston because her red count was very, very low, red blood count, and her white blood count was very, very high. I had no idea what he was talking about. And I said, you need to tell me what you're saying because I really don't know what that means. And he said, well, I don't want to tell you on the phone. And I said, well, you got to tell me. And he said, we think Lucy might have leukemia. And my heart just dropped out to the floor, and had to get Lucy down there. And that night at 8 years old, she sat on my lap, and they said, do you want us to tell her what's going on? And I said, this kid's an old soul, and she reads me like a book, and you basically have to tell her because there's no keeping it from her. We're in the hospital, and we're going to be here for months. So they told her, and I'll never forget sitting there. I'm crying, of course. I've got tears just pouring down my face. And Lucy's sitting on my lap facing the doctor. The doctor was over there. And he's telling her straight everything that she's about to go through and what's happening, and explaining what cancer is and what chemo is. And she finally looked at me, interrupted him, looked at me and said, Mom, stop crying. I'm going to be fine. She was so poised, so calm through the whole thing, and really became my greatest teacher of sort of how to handle crisis and how to get through something like that. So she was sick for 4 years. Her cancer did go away for about 1.5 years. And the cancer is called acute myeloid leukemia. It's the adult form of leukemia. So if you're a child and you get childhood leukemia, the prognosis is much better. You have a 90% survival rate for 5 years. It doesn't mean for life, it means for 5 years. Lucy's cancer had a 50% survival rate for 5 years, and it had a 50% relapse rate. So unfortunately, when she was 10, it did relapse. We had to go back to the hospital. This time, her only hope was a bone marrow transplant. So that followed 18 months of absolute torture for her. She had a lot of complications, and in the end died at age 12 of complications from that. But Love Bus started in the hospital bed in Boston. Lucy looked around her and said, okay, we're in Chinatown, right, Mom? We were floating, and I said, yeah, we're in Chinatown. And she said, well, how come no one's doing acupuncture here? That's kind of funny. And I said, yeah, you're right. So Lucy, during her 4 years of sickness, had received massage, acupuncture, Reiki, chiropractic care, pet therapy, music therapy, any therapy that would help balance the horrible side effects of treatment, because the town of Amesbury, where we lived, raised so much money that we could actually pay out of pocket. So Lucy always assumed that it was covered by insurance and didn't find out till about 4 months before she passed that it's actually not, and that the reason no one else was doing it wasn't because they didn't want it, it was because they couldn't afford it. So she was outraged. She was always a little activist, very, very liberal child, and was really pissed off about this, saying, you know, I thought I had it because of insurance. And I said, no. So she said, when we're done with this, Mom, we're going to make sure that all children have access to integrative therapies, the things that helped me so much and kept me alive and wanting to fight. So she named it Lucy's Love Bus. Loud and proud, show it off. That's our logo.
It fits well.
We have an actual bus now. At first, we didn't have a bus, which was confusing to people. We have a bus. We don't transport children in it because it has 40-year-old brakes, and it's very, very dangerous to drive.
Like Cal's car? And
Yeah,
mine.
sort of like
Great
that.
looking bus.
I like it.
It's a good-looking bus, but it runs like it was built in 1970, as it was. So
We could use that to go to away games.
you could absolutely borrow my bus if you have a death wish. It's kind of dangerous.
We play football for free.
Do you?
Yes.
Okay. So that's how Love Bus started, back in 2006.
I want to ask you something about Lucy.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not a parent. When you found out the diagnosis, you know, initially, it must have been amazing for you as a parent and someone who, you know, has all these initial fears and stuff, and then you look at your daughter, and it's like she's an old pro. So I'm wondering, like, I mean, were there times where you felt like she was guiding you through?
Yeah, the whole way, yeah. And I think it's that way with all children. You know, Lucy was a special girl, but all the kids we meet with cancer, there's something about them. There's a lot of old souls out there. So the parents obviously freak out and are panic-stricken and crying the first month.
I can imagine.
But the child says, all right, I guess this is part of life. And, you know, Lucy would do things like take her medical pole and push it really fast down the hall, then jump on it and skateboard on it. You know, they just find the fun in it, they find the humor in it, they find the goodness in it. You know, when she was losing all her hair, you know, an adult would freak out, right? An adult woman, adult man would freak about losing their hair. Lucy found fun in it. I told her she could cut it off herself. She cut it off. You didn't find that fun? You should have met Lucy. She took big, long strands of it. I have video of her. She's put it in her armpit. And then she's like, Mom, videotape this. So she takes a brush, she clamps it in her armpit and starts brushing it and starts singing a song about her beautiful armpit hair. You know, she's 8 years old. She pretended it was a hairball and coughed it up. You know, she found the humor in her situation and made the best of it. And, you know, that's one of the reasons that, you know, I say she's my greatest teacher, is to face that kind of trauma and horribly unexpected life event with humor and grace, and you know, to find the funny parts, but also to find, Lucy found that the way to get through the suffering was to help other children. So instead of sitting in bed saying, why me, she'd go look for a child who was really suffering more and go help them and have a tea party with them, or make crafts with them, or, you know, help those other kids.
That's the thing, the leadership of it all. I mean, your Lucy's Love Bus, in essence, she started it.
Oh, she totally started it. It was not my idea at all. This was Lucy's vision, yeah.
I'd be worried, you know, like anyone else, I'd be thinking about, you know, what's going to happen to me, you know what I'm saying? And as much as we all try to help people as much as we can, until you're put in that spot, you really can't say what it would be like, but she was in that spot, and she was like that, and at that age.
Kids are pretty profound. I mean, she wasn't afraid of dying ever. You know, there was a time, the first time that she was sick, we had a boy next door to us who was on hospice, and his whole entire family came because he was dying, and they happened to be in the next room to us. So Lucy was witnessing, you know, 40 to 50 people in the hallway sobbing, and she's 8 years old, and she knew the boy. He was our roommate the first night that we got there. And I was freaked out as a parent, saying, you know, couldn't we separate the hospice room from this floor because you're freaking us out? But Lou and I went into our room, and she said, you know, what's going on? And I said, well, he's very, very sick, and the family's all here to say goodbye to him. And she said, is he going to die? And I said, you know, we don't know, but, you know, the doctors think he is, and so it's a very sad time. And she was quiet, and then she looked at me and she said, don't worry, Mom, I'm not afraid of the dying fact. And I said, what do you mean? And I'm freaking out thinking that she knows something that I don't know. And she said, you know, Mom, some people get really caught up in that and live in fear of dying. But for me, I just take every day and enjoy it. And then I don't worry about it. You know, it was very, very simple to her. And I think it is to most kids. You don't often sit and talk about it with your 8-year-old child, but I think 8-year-old children are much more spiritual and profoundly wise than we realize. And because of her situation, we had time, and obviously it was a subject that was at hand, and we had to talk about it.
Sounds like a courageous, powerful young lady.
Yeah, but you know, my other children have had to talk about it too because of Lucy's situation, and my 9-year-old son is very similar in that way and
Affects
talks about
everybody.
it. Yeah, it does.
Affects the whole family.
It does, for life, yeah.
But these guys are probably like, wow, Steve's speechless.
Do you want me to come over more often?
Yes.
You can come over, especially if you bring this bus.
I'll bring the bus.
Bus
We're hoping to get the
something
brakes
else.
fixed this year. We're looking for a grant to get the brakes fixed up so I can travel.
It's a very fun-looking bus.
Thank you. That's our girl.
Beecher,
What?
look at me. All right. I was, you know, I did a little research.
Did you? You know my criminal record?
You really should bring that up. Statistically, I mean, there's some stats out there, and it would lead you to believe that, you know, that there's been drastic improvements in cancer treatment for kids. But you know, I've listened and I've read into what you said, and that's only taking into account. It's not taking into account the years after.
Exactly.
So
It's the
explain
5
that
years.
better than I could, obviously.
Okay. So there's a few things about childhood cancer that are pretty appalling. One is that our government spends $5 billion every year on cures for cancer. That's awesome. $5 billion is great. Of that money, only 3.8% goes to childhood cancer. And the reason is there's a huge disparity in funding is because, you know, adult cancers happen much more often. So the occurrence rate is much greater for adults than for children. The thing that the childhood cancer community feels is that, yes, there's more people getting adult cancers, but they're also much, much older. You know, we have children who are diagnosed at 6 weeks with cancer, and they die at age 6 months. You know, so if you look at the years lost and balance that against the age of the person and the incidence rate, it starts to balance out a little bit more, and 4% starts to sound pretty ridiculous. And in terms of the advances they've made, there's only been 2 childhood cancer drugs developed since the 1990s, just 2. And so the cancer community at large says, well, these cancer drugs that we're creating for breast cancer, prostate cancer will trickle down and help children. What do we know about trickle down? It's baloney, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't work. So Lucy had an adult form of cancer, so she was given adult forms of chemotherapy. And in the end, that's what killed Lucy Grogan, was the medicine, not the cancer. She died because her liver failed, because of everything that had been done to her.
So what needs to be done? What's stopping a higher percentage and more money to go to help out
Well, it's
kids with cancer? Because I can say this. I mean, I am going to take sides here. Adults. Actually, I'm not. I'm at a loss for words.
well, there's a few
But
things
I
stopping
want
it.
to know, like, what's not being done?
Well, there's 2 factors. One is decision makers, you know, at the NIH, the National Institute of Health, are deciding 4% is fair for children, 3.8% is fair. So people can make a lot more noise about it. The childhood cancer community is certainly up in arms and screaming and stomping and talking to lawmakers about this, trying to change it. The other piece that's very important to understand is from a business point of view, if you look at the drug companies, say you own a drug company, and I say, okay, 15 children get this deadly brain tumor called ATRT every year. I want you to develop, you know, put $5 billion into developing a drug for the cure. As a businessman, you're going to say, no, the incidence rate is so low, it's never going to make me any money. So you seem like kind of a jerk, actually, but I thought you were nice. But, you know, if you look at the numbers of it in business, there's no incentive for these companies to create the drugs. That's a reality. So the government needs to step in and create incentives for the drug companies to create them. But also in the research piece, if they had, you know, 10, 12, 15% of the money, we could do much, much more to find cures for kids. So people need to make noise. They need to write to legislators, write to their lawmakers to say, this is important to me. I care about this. And yes, only 15,000 children a year get cancer. 15,000. Doesn't sound like a lot unless it's your kid. When it's your kid, believe me. And if you live where I live in the childhood cancer community, everyone I know is a kid with cancer. It's much more prevalent than people think. And some of these kids are surviving. Almost all of them have late effects of treatment because the treatments were too harsh. So you might survive, but you might be deaf. You might not be able to have children. You might have heart issues, lung issues, liver issues for the rest of your life. So there's the whole quality of life piece, which Love Bus also helps with. We help the kids actively in treatment with integrative therapies, or we help kids who years down the road are still suffering from treatment and have nowhere to turn.
And if they go to your website for information, I mean, do you have ways that people can get in touch with the people in charge?
The lawmakers? No,
Yes.
I would go to the government sites to find those. You can very easily look up who are my senators, who are my state reps, and write to those people.
Do you feel it makes a difference?
Yeah. Oh, it
Have you seen
definitely
it
does.
make a difference?
It definitely
They
does.
do listen?
Yes, they definitely do.
All right.
Especially a handwritten letter, and especially from children. So get your children to do it. And of course, voting people. But I never knew how much of a difference it made till I went down to Washington and actually advocated. There was a childhood cancer awareness weekend, and we all went down together as a group from all different organizations, and they trained us for a day on how to do this, what the issues are coming up that they were going to be voting on, and just to share your stories. So we met with Scott Brown, and we met with some other, we met with Carrie's assistant, and talked to them. And tears were shed. I mean, people listened, and it made a big, big difference for them to hear from parents who've lost children. This is why it matters, and this is what it's like.
It crosses party lines. I mean, it's
it does.
Yeah, everyone cares about.
And I have to say, I was profoundly uplifted after going to that. I realized, oh my gosh, they actually care. They actually listen, and we can actually make a difference. So that's coming up again in June.
That's huge because I would have just assumed maybe like you guys barking up the wrong tree.
No.
That's not the way to go about it. But to hear
It
that
really makes a
people need to
difference.
understand that if they do want to make a difference, handwritten letter and.
Beecher, when they're writing into their representatives, what are they writing in their letters? What do we need to put in these
A
letters?
great place to look for information, there's an organization called St. Baldrick's, and they're the ones that do a lot of head shaving to raise money. They've raised millions and millions and millions, and all of their money goes to childhood cancer cure. So you'll hear of, there's some big local places that are famous, we think, for helping children with cancer, when in actuality, I'm not going to name names, but of their budget, 7% goes to kids. Because of their name, you think it all goes to children. Only 7% goes to childhood cancers. St. Baldrick's is an organization. It's stbaldricks.org. All of their money goes to childhood
You're
cancer
talking even
cures.
cancer institutes that have the word children in them.
Maybe.
Okay. Just
Maybe not.
No,
Should we have a program set up for, there's so many people in this country that send money into the Cancer Society. Should we have a separation of adult cancer and
Well,
children's
there
cancer?
is a separation. I mean, the American Cancer
But I
Society.
mean, are the people aware of that? Like,
No,
if I'm
that's
sending
what I
a
wanna
check
share.
for $20, will it help out the kids?
Nope.
Or does it all go to one fund?
That's the important thing. That's what I'm talking about.
So
St.
do you think
Baldrick's.
it's time to set up something like that?
They are set up. The important part is awareness. People
Right.
don't realize. So you think I'm going, sending this money to this one that sounds like it's for kids.
Right.
You got to do your research. And when you find out it only gives 7%, then you give to somebody like St. Baldrick's who gives 100%.
Right.
So, but then the American Cancer Society, how much do you think they give to kids? Say you give them $1,
50 cents?
1 penny.
That's terrible.
1% of American Cancer Society money goes to children's
Well,
programs.
it sounds like we need a awareness program set up where we
We do. We're doing it right here,
you know,
right now.
yeah.
sounds like they
No, I mean all over the country, people should learn that.
People don't
know.
realize it. But
Say
so
that one more time. Who's the
Okay.
place that
it's stbaldricks.org. All of their money, I mean, except for fees for, utilities and rent, things like that, but 100% of their program money goes to childhood cancer cure.
that's where if you care about this and you care about
Yeah.
that's where your money should go.
So Lucy knew about this. This is an important part of why Lucy started Love Buses. She lost 22 friends to cancer from the hospital during those 4 years. Close friends died. She insisted on going to every wake, every funeral for 22 children. And we kept in close touch with those moms. A lot of times those parents are kind of alienated because the parents still going through it, don't want to look at them, don't want to talk to them anymore because we say it's contagious and I don't want to be near you because it might happen to me. We made a very purposeful effort to stay in close contact with those friends because I knew I had a 50% chance of living that horrible, horrible nightmare. So we worked through the fear and just stayed close to them. And so Lucy saw all these moms raising money for Cure. And so when we had that conversation about Love Bus and why she wanted to do it, she said, Mama, you know, Cure is so important, but what about us? And she spread her arms out. What about us? Meaning right here in this hospital, right now, who's helping these children with comfort and quality of life and helping them want to keep fighting, because it's brutal. I'm talking torture, like torture you wouldn't do to your worst enemy, the things that they're doing to children because we're still experimenting. When Lucy had to have a bone marrow transplant, her oncologist said, this procedure is so dangerous and so experimental that you would not be forced to do it if you chose not to. And if Lucy had been 18, she probably would have chosen not to. She'd been through hell already and had had enough. And I think because she loved her family and felt that she had to try, she did it. But looking back and looking at the photographs of her, her whole life, up until the cancer relapse, Lucy had this wonderful light in her eyes. If you look in that picture, you'll see this shining light in her eyes. When I look at the pictures after relapse, her eyes have gone dead. And it's because she was only doing this for us. And it took me a long time to get over the guilt of knowing that, recognizing that it was for me. And she did it until she couldn't take it another minute. And the night before she died, she just said, Mama, I can't do this another week. I can't do it another day. And the next night she passed.
She was a little warrior, though.
She was a tough girl. She was a lion. Do we need tissues?
Yeah.
But see, the joy of this story is...
Yeah, this is where I was going to ask you.
This is where, you know, obviously, no one's more traumatized by this than her family. But, you know, it's been almost 9 years. There's certainly days where I'm incapacitated and can't move and can't function. And I get really depressed and sad still. But
Then I want to ask you, for someone like me, I mean, your daughter is an inspiration, okay? I see it. I can see the joy part of it. Yeah. I do. I watch it and I think it's a great thing. Mm-hmm. But the underlying part is always gonna, it's sad. And it's sad to know that there's other kids still dealing with this and you know, there's not enough being done about it. But I'm gonna lean on you to help me. I'm gonna talk about Lucy's Love Bus and help me not always see it as something that's terribly sad.
Childhood cancer is terribly sad.
It's
the fact that children are dying is terribly sad.
That's why I don't want to. I have some questions I want to ask you, but I don't want to get away from some mind-blowing stuff that you just said about where the money's going and stuff like that. And it's almost like I didn't want to, it's hard to shift away from it because I thought I was prepped for the statistics and stuff, but that's flat out.
It's really alarming.
Flat out BS.
Yeah.
So Beecher, if I may, and for us out there that don't know, what's a day like on Lucy's Love Bus for functionality when you're dealing with the people out there, and what is it that Lucy's Love Bus actually does on a daily basis?
That's a great question. So what we do, I don't want that to get lost in the shuffle at all, is families call us and we do the intake call and say, okay, what's going on for your child? They tell us what type of cancer they have. And there's applications and paperwork we have to fill out, obviously, because of all the liability involved. But we ask, you know, what's happening? And often children are experiencing muscle weakness, broken bones from high use of steroids for a lot of the cancers. Kids with brain tumors are losing function on one side of their body. You know, the long-term side effects of chemos can, you know, kids get headaches. You know, they have tons of anxiety and stress, obviously, a lot of depression. So we'll listen to what the issues are the child is having, and then we'll make recommendations. So, for example, today a little boy came in he's 2, and he has the soft tissue tumor in his left leg. So they removed most of the tumor. He now has to have chemo and radiation. So that mom said, okay, what can we do to strengthen his leg? So we recommended swimming to start, a very gentle, safe therapy for him just to build strength and confidence. We recommended once he gets a little more stable to do therapeutic horseback riding, which will strengthen his core and his legs and, again, his confidence and get him really excited to be the caregiver helping the horse instead of being the one cared for, which is great for children and self-esteem. Then the third piece we recommended was music therapy for him, to just help him have a way to express with either crazy drumming or banging on a piano. There's a lot of anger, anxiety, and stress that these children go through that as a 2-year-old child he might not be able to verbalize, but he needs to get out.
Sure.
So that's the type of thing he's doing. But we have we have a lot of teenage boys doing guitar lessons, music therapy, so that they're writing songs and getting their feelings out. A lot of our kids are very, very isolated because they have weakened immune systems. So we'll have an art therapist come to their house and do projects with them. We have a yoga person come do yoga for a child who's got his tumors up and down his spine, which is extremely painful. So she teaches him, she does Reiki with him, teaches him meditation, and they do yoga together.
And are these people that are donating their time to the...
They don't. That's a great question. But from the very beginning, part of our purpose was to validate integrative therapies, because we feel very strongly that they need to be combined with traditional therapy. We absolutely believe that you need chemo and radiation. You can't skip that stuff. You have to have that. But we feel, and Lucy said, you know, we owe children. We're experimenting on them. We owe them comfort. So if we're going to be using them as guinea pigs, you have to balance it. And so we strongly believe we have to validate what these therapists are doing, and part of validating is paying for it. So we have always paid full price. If they give us a discount, that's awesome. But, you know,
This is the quality of life you were talking about.
It's quality of life. You have to help children balance the torture with things that are joyful and fun, and address things like the fear and anxiety. And the hospitals can't really do that. The hospitals are solely focused on saving a life, right?
Right.
And they're concerned with quantity of life. I'm not. I'm concerned with quality of life. I want those days to be good. And I tell parents, you know, when they're going through it, you live in such fear and anxiety. I mean, it's massive. People have panic attacks. It's horrible. A lot of people go on medication. A lot of people get divorced. And I say, you got to let go of what's going to happen, because no one knows that. And you cannot control it. All you can do is be an amazing advocate for your child, be educated, be informed, be vocal, and help control the one thing you can, which is quality of life, each and every day. You can't control what's going to happen, so let go of it.
And hearing you speak, I can definitely understand why Lucy was as strong as she was.
Oh, thanks.
I thank you for being here and sharing it with us and everybody out there.
Learned it from Lucy. It wasn't always like
Yeah,
this.
that's the thing I'm starting to get.
Yeah,
She taught you.
she did.
You got
I
some
was
of
a
your
wuss.
strength from her.
I got all my strength from her.
Yeah.
No, I came into my own. I was a very shy, soft-spoken, quiet person. And I had to learn how to fight for my daughter.
You could see a lot of your daughter in you.
Thank you. It's a nice compliment.
As parents, we don't expect to bury our children.
Nope,
We really don't, you know.
shouldn't have to.
I have several members of my family that battle cancer, and I lost sister, a brother, my father. It's one thing when it's an adult, but when it's a child, I can't imagine going through that. I have 3 boys myself at home that I raised. I can't imagine that pain and that hurt that a parent goes through. I can't fathom that.
It is. It's lifelong,
Yeah.
you know. And just recently, we started doing work with bereaved parents.
Yeah.
Our mission is all about children, but I'm finding these big gaps in bereavement, and knowing what I've gone through. You know, people always say time heals, right? It does, sort of, kind of. But what really heals is effort. You can't sit on your ass on the couch
Yeah.
for 10 years and say, I don't know why I'm not feeling better. It's been 10 years. It takes huge amount of effort and energy to seek out healing things that are going to help you. So we just recently partnered with Care Dimensions. It's on the North Shore. It's one of the largest hospices in the state. And I reached out to them and said, you know, can we partner? I'm not a social worker. I don't even have my degree. I got close to it, missed it by like an inch.
Sound like an expert.
But, you know, he said, you guys have the expertise in the group bereavement programs, and you have social workers. Can we partner so that you bring that talking and crying piece in? I want to bring tools and resources in. So they're going to do the first hour where they let people talk and express and feel. But the second piece, I feel like you have to give people tools. And we're going to give them the very same tools that we give the children. All the integrative therapies. We're going to bring in 8 different integrative therapists and expose them to things like acupuncture, Reiki. We're not going to do massage. Most people know what a massage is. But we're going to do music therapy, art therapy, yoga, meditation, and say, you know, maybe one of these will help you. Maybe you'll love all of them. But parents need to be given some resources to survive it, because it's a lifetime of intense pain and suffering. And you have to find a way to manage it and get through it. Otherwise, it kills 2 people, right? The child and the parent die.
Yeah, that's a very
And
good
that's
point.
not okay. And our children don't want that. Lucy does not want to see me suffering. She wants to see me with a life of joy and purpose and laughter. That's what she wants.
And I'm sorry, forgive me, but how long has Lucy's Love Bus been active?
She started it in 2006. She passed in July. She started it in the spring of 2006. And then I would say it was a good 3 years of me being totally train wrecked.
I can understand.
I got divorced soon after she died. I mean, it was just a disaster area for 3 years. I had a 1-year-old son when Lou died, and I had an 8-year-old daughter. And I took 3 years. I knew that we had to start Love Bus because she told me I had to, and it was already actually started as a nonprofit. But I knew from running other things in my life, I used to run a farmer's market, and that was tiny compared to this, but I knew it took a huge amount of energy and drive to make it happen. And I knew I didn't have that because I was a total, absolute wreck.
Understandable.
Yeah.
Where'd you pull your strength from?
On the 3rd anniversary of her death, July 21st, 2009, she kicked me in the butt. It was at night I felt the most powerful push from her, and it was basically saying, all right, this is awesome. You've been on the couch crying for 3 years, but my friends are dying, and you need to get going. I told you what you had to do, and you need to go do it. I've never felt anything like it. I stayed up all night and did this massive cleanse of my house. I just gave away carloads of stuff.
Right.
Anything. I just cleared out space. And then I said, okay, I have no idea what I'm doing. I've never run a nonprofit. I have absolutely no clue how to do this. But Lucy told me I have to start, so I'm going to start. So I just started calling parents that I knew who had children with cancer and said, hey, you want some money for acupuncture? You want some money for this? So from literally having not a clue about how to do it, we're now, we've helped 300 children in 27 states.
Wow. I was going to say,
raised about
demographically, how far have you
600,000.
reached out? Yeah,
I was going to lean into that.
Yeah.
Sam, I've got a child. You know, how do I find you?
Online, I mean, parents in the beginning, it was really hard for us to find patients. And then finally, I thought it would be through doctors and hospitals. But hospitals are so terrified, so petrified of liability that they really shoot themselves in the foot and cut services off from children because of those fears. And that, to me, is a tragedy, that I can't just go to a major hospital and say, hey, we're doing this, and have them jump on the opportunity. If, we would love to be able to offer services in the hospital settings that we can help many children at once in a more cost-efficient manner.
You can't bring that to the hospitals?
If you have 3 to 4 years and a couple lawyers on your board, yes, eventually you can. Eventually you can. But I'm not the kind of person to wait 4 years to do that. So I tried through the hospital for 2 years and then said, forget this. This is ridiculous. These kids need services today, not in 2 years when your lawyers are comfortable with it. I do love hospitals and I appreciate them, but I hate the liability piece because it really cripples them. They can't act quickly. They can't get services to children. So I finally found that if I went to other nonprofits started by other parents who would know and trust me by looking in my eyes, because we get each other, these parents. So I went to Sherry's house out in Worcester, who served children with cancer, started by a father and a little girl named Sherry, very similar to Lucy's story, and they immediately started sending us their children. So that's how we first found kids, and then I found this conference for, it's the Association of Pediatric Oncology Social Workers. And by going and talking to those people at a conference, I met hundreds of social workers who then started referring children. So that's how we find most of our kids, is through social workers, through other parents who have worked with Love Bus, through camps like Camp Sunshine, Camp Hole in the Wall. They refer kids to us. Online, people are finally learning more about the integrative therapies, so if they Google integrative therapies for kids with cancer, our name will pop right up.
How long do you usually stay and work with these families when you begin the process with them?
I'd say we give each child $1,000. We do it in $500 increments so that we can, we give them $500 to give us time to raise the other $500. And that $1,000 lasts generally about a year because the kids are in and out of the hospitals, sick on and off. I mean, kids' cancers are treated for years usually, not months, it's years. We have a child with a brain tumor who's been in treatment for 15 years of her life, wow. 15 years. So, it lasts about a year, and we always try to raise more money. If they reach the end of their funding, we check in and say, how are you doing?
That's pretty good, though.
It's pretty good. It's not enough. When we started, it was, we ran it how Lucy would want it to be run, which was we never capped funding. If a child needed $5,000 of funding and they were still suffering, we still paid it. Just this January 1st, because we have had so many children, we had 45 kids on a waiting list. So what's happening is you know, we finally had to make some rules as a board that were very, very painful to make. Because Lucy wanted to help nationally. She wanted to help until we didn't need it anymore. She didn't want to be like an insurance company. And that's how I always ran it, was when a question came up, I'd say, okay, Lou, what do you want me to do? And she'd say, you got to help everybody. She doesn't care about my gray hair, you know? So that was a very difficult thing. And the board really had to smack me around a little bit, because I fought tooth and nail to keep it how Lucy wanted it. But in terms of sustainability, we had to scale back to New England, the 6 states, for a few years until we crack this code of how to raise nationally. You know, we have 2.5 staff members, and we're raising a ton of money, helping so many children, but we are too small to be sustainable as a national organization when we only have fundraising in Massachusetts. So that, and we had to cap it at 1,000, but I said, okay, if we have to cap it at 1,000, then I want extra money set aside in our budget for children on hospice and children on relapse, because they need more. You can't look at it, you know. So just for the people in the office, you know, the board's sitting over here making decisions. We're in the office answering phone calls from crying mothers saying, my child is dying, I need your help. There's no way I can say no.
So how many major sponsors do you have in Massachusetts? I mean,
We don't have any.
you don't have any
No,
major
you know
sponsors?
who we are? We were started by a 12-year-old kid. We have thousands of children who collect quarters and nickels and dimes. We have, you know, we have grants from foundations. Some of those are our major sponsors, where they will, the biggest grant we've ever received was recently from the Saab Family Foundation in Salem, New Hampshire. They gave us $15,500 for our school program, where we get children involved in activism and philanthropy to raise money. It's called Lucy's Kid Corps. So that program is growing. But in terms of, you know, we are too small so far to attract major funders.
Right.
Because if you think of it from their end, they're looking at it as marketing. So we've had conversations with big companies, but then they look at how many likes do you have, how many people are following you on Twitter.
Right.
We deal with some stuff like that too.
Yeah.
Not, but there are parallels. You were talking about
Yeah.
starting something from scratch, and who do you have for sponsors, and
Yeah.
it's tough to get people big.
Until you're big
time.
enough, there's really nothing in it for them. Luckily, there's small, like the big corporations you would think would be the obvious way to go. It's not. I find the smaller corporations who can relate to us and the size that we are the ones who give most generously. So there are some companies in Massachusetts that have really, you know, Brooks Brothers surprised me. They came from out of the blue
Wow.
and gave us $3,000. And when I went and met with them, I said, "You're Brooks Brothers. You're so fancy, and we're so hippie." And they said, "No, Beecher, we hug." So
But
go
no
Brooks
major,
Brothers.
no major
Nope.
companies
No
like
major
a
sponsors?
McDonald's
Oh
or
God,
something
no.
like that.
I honestly, I'm going to say
Papagino,
this in public.
something.
I wouldn't take money from McDonald's.
No?
You think McDonald's food is healthy?
No,
I wouldn't take it from Coke either. I would like money from companies that are doing good things and healthy foods for children. I would hate to take money from a sponsor
Right.
who is helping to cause cancer. Like,
Oh,
you
I
know,
understand what you're
so,
saying.
you know what I
Yeah.
mean? We're weird.
Yeah.
It's a Lucy thing.
Yeah.
Like, you got to stick to her integrity
But there's
level.
got to be more companies out there in Massachusetts
They're
that are
out
willing
there.
to help, but they're not aware of
They're not
your
aware, exactly.
program.
Yeah.
No, we
No, I
can
think
sell
I think when people hear about it, they want to help.
I saw on the website you have 3 different programs.
We
Wanna
do.
explain that?
Sure. We have 3 programs. There's Lucy's Children, which is getting the integrative therapies to children. That's like the main thing that we do. Then we have Lucy's Love Corps, which is our monthly donor program. So we invite hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people to help just a little bit. Our theory has always been, we've always been a grassroots organization. And instead of chasing the $1 million founders or companies, because I know we won't be attractive to them, we go after people like you, and you for $5 a month, $10 a month. And that's our Lucy's Love Corps. Thinking of that as an army of people who are coming together to help as much as they can for a consistent amount of, long time, so that we can always know we're going to have funding for kids and get rid of our wait list. So that's Love Corps. And then the Kid Corps grew out of that. Lucy's Kid Corps is when we go to a school. I share Lucy's story in a very positive way. They know that she passed, but I read them the book. We wrote a book called A Lion Inside about Lucy and her story. It's a very positive, uplifting book about, it's for kids with cancer, but I share it with healthy kids to let them understand what happens to a child with cancer. And I talk for about 45 minutes with the kids. We talk about cancer, the cancer facts, get them all riled up about the inequity. And then I invite them. I say, you want to help little Tommy on my wait list here? Tommy's got a brain tumor, and he wants to do gymnastics to help him with his balance and his coordination. Do you guys want to help him? And they go nuts. They love it. And so they think of little fundraisers to raise $1,000, and then they get to write letters. The children who have cancer never write back. They're kind of consumed. but the kids who are healthy get to write them letters, send them poems, send them pictures, and get a picture of the child. So they have a picture in their school of the child they're helping and know their story. So the kids are getting educated about that, but we're also encouraging kids to write to lawmakers.
So we need the people of Hanover, the kids in the schools and everything, if they can collect their pennies, and every little bit would help, right?
I'll come talk to the kids here.
I got something for you.
What do you got for me?
I will speak on behalf of the league. We do, the league, we do fundraisers, get games together, guys get together, and they're for a good cause.
Can I dress them up like butterflies?
Some of them dress like butterflies anyway, okay?
It would go over well. Come on, imagine them in the bus.
We're a scene waiter.
Okay.
You know, the New England Football League's got 42 teams, okay?
Do they each want to adopt one of my kids?
Yeah.
You know, when you look at it that way,
I mean,
$1,000
you
is
don't
not much.
like, not going to speak for money or any whatever, but I will tell you right now, you know, you start with our team. We have a roster of 40 whatever guys, each one of them. You ask for $5 a person, this and that. As soon as our guys see the show, they're gonna want all over it.
All right.
They're gonna want to help out in any way you can. But I will speak for the NAFL. I can guarantee, and you know, I believe in sharing stuff like this
Yeah. No, we would
across
love
the
to have
board,
support.
and I would bet the league board of directors and stuff would set something nice up for you maybe once a
would be
year.
awesome.
But you know, you saw the Chiefs first, so we may run it.
So you're number one?
We may run it, but we share it. But it's just such a great thing you have going here that there's just nothing. There's no bad angle
no
on
bad,
it. So it's
no.
almost. I mean, it's a.
Except for the
unanimous
cancer
thing.
part, you know.
But you're gonna keep reminding me.
Yep.
I only cried twice, not 3 times. But yeah, I mean, you when I walked in there, Beachcomber that night, there was just you had just something radiating about you, and then the more you talk about it, again, it's your. You call her Lou.
Lou.
It's Lou.
Lou. L-U. Yeah.
Do you have any events coming up?
We do. We have some awesome events, actually.
On
You
your
guys
birthday?
free Saturday night?
On my birthday?
It's actually Steve's birthday party. It's March 21st
Rob's
on
checking
Saturday.
it off like what thing I'm not going to on Saturday.
Birthday.
I need my details. So we didn't organize this one. This one was organized by a guy who came on our music cruise, we call it, in Boston Harbor. It's an Irish music cruise. There's no drinking at all on it.
What did you say?
Nothing.
Can't be an Irish cruise then.
Just kidding. It's an Irish music cruise, but we met this wonderful man, Mike, who's a lawyer in Arlington, and he's part of the Knights of Columbus. So he and his sister, Trish Pope, decided they wanted to run a big event. And they said, how much do you need? And I said, I need 25,000. And we got 25 kids on my wait list. And they said, all right. So they took the challenge. They're holding that event this Saturday at 7 o'clock at the Knights of Columbus in Arlington, which is at 15 Winslow Street. There's going to be, it's $10 at the door, which is pretty cheap. You get, there's going to be live music all night, some great raffle auctions. We're auctioning off a 5-night trip to the Bahamas, all inclusive. And if you win, you have to take me because I deserve to go, right? I tell that to everybody.
Looks like your entire office staff. There's only, what, 2 of you?
I'd take you.
Now,
All
if
right.
people can't attend the time, is there any address they could send in a check to help
Absolutely.
out the cause? And-
Yeah, our website is lucy'slovebus.org. You have to remember it's bus, not bug, so lucy'slovebus.org. You can find everything you need there. There's a donate button.
I'll put a link under the
Yeah,
video
sure.
for that and
Yeah.
the hospital that gives so much of its money.
St. Baldrick's.
I'll put a link
St.
to that.
Baldrick's is on our site. There's everything you could ever want is on our site.
We're
you
just
look
going to
through
keep
that.
pumping that out.
Yep. Our mailing address is P.O. Box 464 in Amesbury, Mass. 01913.
I think we could get a group of guys to
Yeah.
head down there Saturday night, sure.
It's going to be really, really fun. Our
It's my
events
birthday.
are crazy fun. I know. I'll buy you a
Thought last
Cruise?
week was his
a
birthday.
bigger shirt.
You buy me a bigger shirt?
It won't get you
It
a
gets
cruise.
expensive. This thing's a 3X.
We'll get you what you need. All right.
That's what it was. You saw me when I walked in the door, and it was
Yeah.
because I'd fit into one of your shirts that you'd never.
I was all
originally
excited that I could give away a 3X.
I,
But we also have, I want to tell you about an event. Our biggest event of the year is called Céilí a Lucy, and if you're Irish, you know that means Dance for Lucy. It's held at the Irish Social Club on April 10th. It's a Friday night. We had 500 people last year. We're looking to fill the joint this year. It's with 600 people. It's $25 at the door. You get a full dinner catered by 2 chefs catering up in Chelmsford, and 3 bands playing all night. Last year we had the column of pipes and drums come. The Boston Police came in their full regalia. That was awesome. We have some Irish step dancers coming in, and 100 raffle baskets. Really good baskets are raffled off that night. And of course we're drawing the Bahamas trip that night. So you want to be there for that. You don't have to be there, but you want to be there. But that's April 10th. And all of these are on our website. On the first page on the right side, you'll see all the events coming up.
And I'm going to link you up to our website too. Because,
that would help.
And you said that for guys that aren't here, and I think it's a great thing because a lot of people say, what would be the point? You offered to come down and speak at one of our practices to all our guys.
Yep.
I think that's your message is a great thing for our guys to hear.
Wait, I forgot something important. We just found out, you know Candy O'Terry from Magic 106.7?
Yes.
Don't you love her? She is going to be our
now
MC.
We have to act like we don't listen, Rob.
Yes.
You listen all the time to that easy stuff.
David Alabouche.
No, she's going to be the MC for our event, and she's actually coming out with a new CD called Dream Come True, and she searched and found a charity that she wanted to partner with. Guess who it is?
You.
Love Bus. So
Chief?
she decided, she lost her mother to cancer. And so we connected on that she lost her mom, I lost Lou, and she's going to donate a percentage of the proceeds from her new CD to Love Bus, and she'll be there that night.
She's going to be there when?
And we want Marty Walsh to come. Marty, if you're listening, please come.
I can get Marty Walsh to come.
Can you? We've invited him.
I'll just talk his ear off.
Okay.
Seriously?
No, we want to honor him as a childhood cancer survivor.
And you'd like to get him to come?
No, we really want him. We need him to come.
Ask.
I did. Marty, can you please come?
I'll get the video.
April 10th.
I'll tag him in the video.
Well, if anyone knows Marty, get him to come.
Can you get him to come?
Make it happen, as Cal would say.
We need Marty. We want to celebrate. You know, we're going to have some of our childhood cancer survivors there, and we want them to see an adult who
Is this
survived
Saturday you're
cancer.
talking about?
No. That's March 25th.
This is the big one.
We're talking April 10th, the
Okay.
Céilí. That's where we want Marty to come because our kids will be there, and we want them to see you can not only survive but thrive after cancer and become mayor if you want to, or president. Marty, please come.
Please be president. Sorry. It's all good. I mean, this is the most special show I've done in far and away. I mean, it's tough now to talk about football after that. You know what I mean?
I think you should ask me some football questions because that'll lighten it up for the people at home. Ask me some technical questions.
Real quick.
Yeah.
What's better, offense or defense?
Defense.
There you go.
Thank
Stop.
you.
There you go.
I owe you $5.
No, come on, ask me a hard
the
one.
right show.
Who's the greatest team in any league?
Patriots.
Social Chiefs.
Okay, yeah, that too. I have to say I'm very fond of the Bruins. The Bruins are good to Love Bus. So to me, it all depends on how good they are to Love Bus.
That was like the joke that you don't get football and it's a hockey team?
Right.
Okay.
And I love them.
You really like the Bruins?
I love the Bruins. They donate things to Love Bus. They've helped 5 of our kids. We'll see how you do. You might come. You might get up there.
Is that a challenge?
It's a bit of a challenge, yeah. I don't know. See if you can beat
We
the
have some
Bruins.
pretty amazing guys, I'll tell you that
That's
much.
awesome.
We have some pretty amazing
I don't
guys.
doubt
and, you come down and you talk to them.
I'll bring the
at-
bus. As soon
at
as
a
I get those
practice.
brakes fixed, I'll bring the bus.
Cal likes to drive buses like that.
He sure does.
Cal,
You
drive
can be
that?
our
You know
official
what-
driver.
I'd volunteer to drive that
Oh, you
bus.
could totally
Huh?
drive it. We just have to
Oh,
get you on the
yeah.
insurance.
Cal was in
God, I
high
love
school.
it.
Are you
when
good
those
at
came off
fixing
the,
them? They break down
production
I'm
line.
not good mechanically. I'm
All right.
not good in the kitchen. I'm not good with my hands like that. But I would like to drive that.
You know what I call that?
What?
The pretty committee. People who just sit there looking pretty in the bus.
Yeah.
You can do that.
Can we really borrow that for a game? For just 4 of us to
If
go
he's
in?
going to drive it,
boy.
yeah.
I'm serious.
When it's fixed, yes.
We have this thing where it's
If you
he
sign a
drives,
a
Rob
waiver.
and Tommy Tambo. We don't talk about what happens in it on the way back.
I don't know if Steve will fit in this. to be
No,
honest with you.
his feet will hang out the end.
Fit in this.
You
But
fit
you
in
know
there.
what? You know what's funny?
What?
I'm proud to wear it though.
Good. It's a nice tank top.
It's a bro. That's what they call it on Seinfeld, right? Manzier.
What?
Is that?
Okay.
I missed that one.
So Beecher,
Yeah.
before we go, what's the big message you want to get out to everybody out there that's watching?
About what? Love Bus or childhood cancer?
It all.
All of it.
We need your help. We need your support. We need your help. We need your love. We need your time. We need your volunteerism. We need money. You know, money, I hate to say it, but money is the thing that makes us happen. It fuels
Can I
the
say
bus.
Okay.
I can memorize that.
I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming down and sharing your story. And I did know your daughter in a way because I see her through you.
She's there. She's right there.
And it's just been an amazing experience.
Thank you.
Thank you again. And this won't be the last time you'll be on.
Great. Well, thank you for having me.
Thank you so
Thanks for
much.
listening.
Thank you for coming.
Having you here.
Thank you.
Thank you. You guys are awesome.
Take care.